Only yesterday. It feels like it's been a year already. And I hope you are enjoying the Selenium conference. So, first up, we have Sneha Bishop. I already told her that I'm going to totally mess this up as soon as I get up here. Who's going to be Sneha, who's going to be talking about one happy QA team. Let's welcome her to the stage.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm Sneha, and I'm going to talk about one happy QA team. So in my team, I'm sorry about the email notifications. In my team, a few months back, we realized that our manual testers were doing regression on already existing automated tests. And so we felt the need to have a way to fix the communication gap. We tried a lot of methods and a lot of activities for this particular assignment, but what I liked the most was mind maps. We used mind maps, so basically we laid out the foundation of the entire application, and we marked all the tests that were automated. And we had color codes for all the automated tests, different ones for smoke tests, functionality, workflows, and passed them over to our manual testers. And they took a look at it and added whatever was missing. And that kind of helped us gain visibility into what was automated and what was missing from our point of view and what was missing from their point of view. And we got to get good on the communication aspect. And then our manual testers were the subject matter experts, obviously. So we wanted to leverage their skills into our automation. So we helped them write test cases as feature files. We were using SpecFlow. So what we did was we had a training session. Obviously, SpecFlow and Cucumber are amazing tools. We do use SpecFlow, but expecting our manual testers to download Visual Studio and learn an entire IDE just for writing feature files felt like a big expectation. So we found this application called Tidy Gherkin, which was actually a Chrome plugin, which is free and easy to use. It looks like this. It was so much more easier for our manual testers to start writing feature files, and they would attach these to the tickets, and then we would just use the feature files directly into the automation. We would make some major tweaks wherever it was needed. So this is how our mind maps were looking. This is just a small view, but then we had different color codes just to see what were the tests that automation covered. Had smoke tests, workflow tests, and functionalities, and all that. So this is a small point of view of how we combine planning, coordination, and training to build one happy QA team. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sneha. It was absolutely fantastic talk. If you haven't tried mind maps, you really should. It helps clarify a lot of thinking and is especially helpful with large teams. Up next, we have SC Menti on tips to get the team to own quality. Let's welcome her to the stage.
Hey, everybody. I don't have slides or anything, but it's going to be more of an being able to influence people, because that's basically what it is. Because it's a really hard thing where you have people that you're working with, and then they believe that you are the quality, you are the gatekeeper. How many people can relate to that in this room? And I've been doing QA testing for like 10 years now, and it's been a struggle that I've had to deal with all through my career. And I decided, how about if I try to change this mindset? How about if I try to influence this change in mindset? Because I'm not a developer, I'm not a feature developer per se, but I can influence people, I can say things, I can do things, I understand how it basically works, so I should be able to do this. And so one of the things I started with explaining and doing sessions with the developers and the team generally, product manager, product owner, basically the Scrum team, to do sessions to relate a software product to an actual product that you're going to buy. And how would you buy a product? Like if you want to buy a computer, what are the things you look at? What are the things you check out for? And those are the things that determine the quality of that product. Now, does that mean it's a human being that determines the quality of the product? No. That determines the quality of the product when they're building the product? No, because different things like marketing, the price of the product, that's branding, has nothing to do with the software development process, and so many other things determine the quality of the product, determines the perceived quality of the product. So those were the first things I did, and I began to see a little bit of a change in mindset to how the quality of the product was perceived. There was no longer, oh, it broke in production, who tested it? It broke in production, or this person is not using it. Why are they not using it? Is it because we didn't test it properly? Is it because there's a bug? Those questions reduced. Now the next step I now had to start doing was reinforcing the mindset and the idea that QA is a process. It is not a job role. It's a process that is used throughout a software development lifecycle. And basically what I used to do is, oh, someone goes, oh, where's the story? Why hasn't it gone into production? Oh, it's in QA. And I'm like, no, you mean testing, right? We're testing it. We're doing a check. We've done a lot of things at the beginning that is part of our full QA process, and now we are doing testing, which is also part of our QA process. But it is not in QA because we started QA from the beginning. And that alone began to change the mindsets. I've had struggles, this current team I've been working with had struggles with them to start writing acceptance criteria, like proper description of stories and being able to look at positive and negative parts, failure scenarios and all those kind of things. And I did something else. I basically started doing separate scenario planning sessions every single week. We'll sit together, and it's a remote team, so it's Zoom calls, sit together in that Zoom call, and the developer will basically talk through what they're building, down to how they're gonna write the functions, down to what the function is gonna do, who's gonna call it, and then we now talk, and then they begin to see the errors and the positives and the negatives, and then I write those in the descriptions. And now I can proudly say that from next Scrum sprint planning sessions, those things are going to be happening formally in the sprint planning sessions. So these things do work, and I just wanted to share this with you and see that you can actually influence this and change this mindset and stop being a gatekeeper and be free to do other things that interest you as a tester.
Woo. Awesome. Thank you, Essie. Next up, we have Suha. You might want to restate your name because I'm going to butcher the rest of this. And she's going to be talking about how to make a non-QE environment. Non-QA to run the automation test. Awesome. So welcome to the stage. Have at it.
Hello, everyone. My name is Suja Subramaniam. I'm from Quicken Loans, and I have created an automation framework using Selenium WebDriver C#. I would like to share an inspirational story from my experience. Before I joined OneQA, he was created a regression test suite in Qtp UFT, and he runs that regression suite every push night and check whether anything broken. So one day my team lead asked me, if you or the other QA is available only, we can run that test scripts. How can you make a non-QE to run the automation script? So since that inspired me, and since I was using Visual Studio Selenium WebDriver C#, I created a exe file application which anybody can run that application by clicking a button, and currently more than 30 members of our team is running the automation script. Those are those who are not QEs. And also I would like to share another thought. I don't see any difference between UI automation and API automation. What I do, we were listening a lot of ice cream cone pyramids. What I do, I compare the UI automation output with the API response and assert them. So I don't see any difference between both the automation. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Up next, we have Sahar, right? Come up on stage and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Good. So I'm new to the software testing space, and I'm one of the, good. Should I start rapping? So I'm new to the software testing space, and I'm one of the younger people on our team, and I thought it'd be funny if we played a prank on my CEO today. So towards the end of the presentation, I'm actually going to give everybody my CEO's email, and I just want all 100 people here to send an email to him saying the exact same thing and just making me look very good. So if you're in, I can tell you the results after too. I think it'd be really, really funny. What we do is we use AI in the software testing space, and I just got a quick little video here that I want to show you. So we take your English written test cases, as you see here, and we convert them into Selenium code. So for manual testers who aren't maybe too familiar with Selenium, with our dashboard here, we upload the test case, just written in regular English format, and your data, and within 2 to 3 minutes, you get between 600 to 700 lines of Selenium script, as you can see there. We're also integrated with Sauce Labs, so you can actually execute and run the script right on the platform. But I know you guys really don't care about that. I think it'd be really funny if we actually sent an email to my CEO. His email is Ram, and I actually got a beautiful picture of him here, actually. That's him right there. Awesome gentleman. He gave me this awesome opportunity to come here and be in touch with you guys and learn about this industry a little bit more. So if you're in, his email is ram@autonomic, which is A-U-T. Let's see here. I got the email. I'll just go to the website. Can everybody see that? Yeah, I want to leave this site. Oh, no internet. Anyways, I highlighted it there. It's Ram. Okay, Ram. And I think if we were just hey, we just met SAR, we love this software, and we'd love a free demo of it. All right, if we can get 100 emails to him, that'd be awesome. Guys, that's all the time that I have today. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And I'm sure your CEO is going to be thanking you as well. Up next, we have Chris O'Neill on using Jenkins Files to simplify your test runs. Let's welcome him to the stage.
Hey everyone, I'm Chris. Work for a company called Jellyvision. We do decision support for benefits. So we basically, it's not working, is it? I can plug in a thing, I swear. So we basically have a little animated guy called Alex who walks you through this rich internet application and tells you about your benefits and what's going to be the best plan for you so you save the most money for you and your family. So without that, that was my pitch. I think I wasn't not supposed to pitch. But so anyway, kind of the background here is we released like 600 sites in 3 months, which is insane, and I'll talk to you about it later if you want. But we need to run a ton of tests in a very short amount of time. So Jenkins Files really proved to be a very useful efficiency gain for us, and I'm just going to share with you a little bit of what I learned about Jenkins Files in the last year. So if any of you use Jenkins at work and you want to run your test after deploy, you might be familiar with these that are called post-build actions. And I think some of this, this is obviously Jenkins specific, but I'm sure there's similar things in other CI suites. So what this is a nightmare of bash variable assignments that you pass into all your Jenkins jobs, and you supposedly could have all these different Jenkins jobs you need maybe to run, and in our case, suites that are actually in the same repo, but they were running with different parameters. So instead of all these post-build jobs, you can put everything in a Jenkins file, and you could actually be more terse syntax than this, and you could actually use syntax that would, where are we at? Oh, I only got 20 seconds left. So you would actually use Groovy, which is a new language. It's Java-like, and I'm just going to show you a couple ways you can learn Groovy. There's Groovy Web Console, and if you have a really good DevOps team, they might install something like this for you, which is a pipeline syntax, and it basically takes all of the plugins you have in Jenkins and puts them into script form. So as you see here, I've put in how to do an email extension, and then I have a nice copy and paste little piece of code down here that, if I could figure out the podium, I could just grab, copy, throw it in my Jenkins script, and then you're doing all the things that you're doing in a freestyle Jenkins script, but instead of all your code being trapped in little Jenkins widgets, you now have it in a Groovy script that you can put in your repo of any language and check into source control. So we were kind of flying blind there for a while, and something would change in Jenkins, and then everything would be horked. So, and then one other really cool feature is then and I don't know if anything's going to work on Wi-Fi, but in one of these pipeline jobs then, you can actually hit a button called replay, and it will give you, the wireless is not going to work, so I'm going to talk you through it. It'll give you the entire Jenkins file that you just ran out of your repo, and you can edit it in the Jenkins application, and it allows for much quicker troubleshooting. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris. Up next, we have Oleksii talking about the parallelization of Appium tests, executions. Let's welcome him to the stage. I promise you, I speak English occasionally.
Hi, hello. I'm I'm Oleksii. I'm from Ukraine. I'm working with a company called Scalia Ukraine for a company called Thomas Cook. And Thomas Cook is a company that provides probably one of the biggest in Europe, but they provide tours for their customers. And for that, they need mobile applications. And last 3 years, I've been working on automating those mobile applications. There is 5 markets. The applications is more or less similar in the business logic, but they also run on 2 different platforms. And in general, I have 10 applications to automate. I've used Cucumber to describe the general flows of the tests. And in a year about, I managed to automate everything that I needed. But then I realized the fact that on iOS, tests run about 8 hours, and on Android, it's 6.5 hours. And I tried to resolve this issue using parallelization, but apparently it was not so easy as add a lot of browsers to your desktop and run this test. No, you need or 10 different simulators and emulators, or 10 different devices. And with devices, it's even more difficult because Appium server needs 3 unique ports for each device to work with hybrid applications. So I checked the field, I checked the Optimus solution, I tried to work with Grid, but it was required a lot of manual stuff. And I'm lazy, but I decided to write my own solution. And I used Java with Spring Boot. I created the solution that will, from one side, will pull all USB ports for devices that are connected to it. And from latest version of Xcode, it now can do it with Wi-Fi devices connected. And after the service discover device, it will find 3 unique ports on the computer. It will reserve for this device. Will create Appium server for instance of Appium server for each device, and will provide an API access to those devices. All this information is stored in database, and clients can ping for a free device to take, because this is the main reason of creation of the server. All other, if you try to run 5 different tests from the on the one computer, every test will try to take the first device in the list. And this device dealer, DD as I call it, it's resolving this issue. That's actually something I wanted to share because I have a, as it's called, imposter syndrome, and I don't know if it's something that is needed for the community. So if someone from the audience would like to have this solution, please raise a hand and check me on the Twitter or as Ochubay. Yeah, I don't know. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Up next, we have the Dark Arts Wizard of UFT. We have Mr. Paul Grossman. Oh my lord, I really just messed that up. It's been a long conference. Is everybody enjoying it? Excellent. Awesome. He's going to be talking about fun with automation for beginners. So well, he's already on the stage, but we'll welcome him to the stage anyways, and he's going to take it away.
I'm not a hardware guy, I'm a software guy. So it's going to take a second here to see if I plug it in correctly into the right port. Of course, there's the right port. And we see it? There we go, cool. Yes, I'm Paul Grossman, and this is a real quick presentation. Fun with automation for beginners. Big fan of the Big Bang Theory, so I always like the fun with flags. I did a couple presentations on the fun with regular expressions. If you don't find regular expressions fun, go check out me up on YouTube. I've got a little short video on how to learn stuff with regular expressions, kind of fun. I've been at the Automation Guild with Joe Colantonio. Who knows Joe Colantonio? Cool, the rest of you guys got to Google that, okay? Go check out Test Talks 103, 176. If you want to learn more about me, I don't have time to talk about me all that much. You can hear that in the Test Talks. I was going to tell you a funny story about automation, but then I realized that I've got 4 former co-workers, 3 former clients, and 2 bosses at this convention, and my lawyer says I probably shouldn't do that. So I decided to do this. I've got 17 years experience working in automation. I've been at about 7 different conferences as speaker. Not here, you've probably never heard of me because I actually have been working all those years in the micro-focus Mercury world. I'm trying to switch over from LeanFT, and LeanFT for Selenium is out there. I'm going to put together some stuff with that. I'm going to try and get to this conference next year and do that for you guys. But since I am switching over into a brand new language, I'm actually a beginner. I'm no longer a 17-year guy. I'm just starting all over again. When I first started, the first thing I did was I went and automated a website. I automated Turbo 21 over on, by the way, you can take pictures of the slides. It's perfectly fine because I'm not going to tell you what the URL is. It's right there. I automated Pogo.com and did a little Turbo 21 and got that to automate. I did it in Windrunner, which was C. Then I switched it over to UFT about 4 years ago. I'm going to do it one more time, doing it in Selenium next year. But here's the thing, and I also have a degree from Savannah College of Art Design. So I have an art degree, I have an IT training from an art school, which is kind of weird, which also gives me that imposter feeling when I'm up here. And Alicia Locke talked a lot about that on one of our previous sessions. I do want to steal some information from you. If you guys don't have a chance to get out to a workshop, do these workshops because you get to see cool things like learning how to figure out where your identifiers are for objects. And this isn't my stuff, this is Andrew Krug. He actually taught one of these workshops on Wednesday. If you get a chance to go check it out, that's the website over there. He also showed us a little bit about a sandbox where you can go test your automation skills on how to go and click on objects and stuff. And that's Dave Hefner's stuff. Andrew Krug showed it to me as well. But here's the interesting thing is that I actually have my own little sandbox. It's called Candy Mapper. It's just coincidence that it happens to be Halloween themed, and Halloween happens to be this week. It's a GoDaddy supported site. You can go out there and learn about it. There is no application I'm trying to sell you. It's all airware. It's just trying to go and click on and identify objects and all sorts of cool stuff. However, one of the great things that, we lost Paul Allen this week, and he said something really great, which was, if you're ever accused of being overly invested in your ideas, it may well be a sign that you're on the right track. I went out and bought 3 of these sites: Candy Mapper R2, which is slightly different because it's a release 2, and Candy Mapper R3, which actually has more functionality and you can go and play around with it. I have Candy Mapper UK in there as well. But what I wanted to kind of quickly show you is that that's my original site up there that did the automation up on Pogo. I don't have time to show you that, but I will show you the Automation Sandbox. This guy up here is basically showing us the sandbox. You can go over to the different areas and go click on them. There's like a spinner out there. It's supposed to wait around for a while. You've got to get in touch. You can go and ping on this. It'll bring you fields. Try and populate those fields. Hit the send button without anything populated. Verify that there's an error message that pops up. And at the bottom, it actually tells you a little bit more about what this idea is and why it needed to have a sandbox out there. There's our Automation Sandbox. And if you happen to go at the bottom, it'll link you out to our other ones, like the Candy Mapper R2 out there, which shows you slightly different versions of this. And I hope you guys come over and check this whole thing out and give me some suggestions on what other cool stuff to put in there. Give it a shot on the Sandbox. I'm Paul Grossman. Thank you so much for letting me come out here and talk to you guys.
Thank you very much, Paul. I think that's the first time I've actually been name dropped in one of these presentations. I don't know how I feel about that. Thank you, Imposter Syndrome. Up next, we have Jason Gowan talking about Phantom.js. So let's welcome him to the stage and take it away.
See if this logs in. Okay, it looks like not. Here we are. Apologize, this is a presentation that I did internally at ZipRecruiter a year or so ago, and it looks like it's not lining up quite right, but oh well. So originally when I joined ZipRecruiter, we used Phantom.js. It was like 2.5 years ago, and it was a little bit lagging behind, so I updated it. I fixed a lot of the JavaScript agents. But eventually, Phantom.js was no longer maintained. And also, at the same time, some of our site, even though we had Babel running, supposedly making it so our JavaScript would run in ES6, didn't actually work on Phantom.js. So we needed to update to more modern browser while keeping the performance the same. So I started looking at Chrome driver, but unfortunately Chrome driver has horrible startup and shutdown performance, so I needed to solve that issue because we have a very fast release process at ZipRecruiter. We release every day to production. So I started looking at maybe I could like reuse the browser. That'd be really cool, right? Clean the cookies, clean the session, local sessions, and all the storage, right? So that was my idea. And then, but it wasn't possible because Chrome driver only allows one connection to the remote debugger. But then Chrome 63 came out. And that was really cool because Chrome 63 allowed you to have multiple connections to the debugger, which means you could do all sorts of crazy stuff. You can connect from actually multiple, multiple Seleniums actually can connect. You could have multiple Selenium sessions actually connecting to the same browser, which is odd, right? Also really cool. You could also have something like Puppeteer and Selenium connecting to it. Or like I did, you could have a proxy, right? Where most of the communication is just like normal Selenium stuff. And then maybe I want to customize some stuff that goes through like an agent. And that's what I did. Because I wanted to do things like I want to run my tests on headless Chrome. That was another really cool thing that came out within the last year. And I made that happen because in the debugger, if you listen to these frames, it'll give you frames of the page as it changes. And also give you timestamps. So you can actually stitch those frames together with FFmpeg, and FFmpeg has a little undocumented thing that lets you like stitch them together in such a way that takes into account for the delta, time delta between each of the frames. And that actually ended up working really well. So now I had videos, and I didn't have to run like a frame buffer or anything like that, which was cool. And yeah, it also allowed me to clear cookies and stuff and reuse the browsers. Am I done? No? Okay. And yeah, that is about it. Yep, and I'll show you the project. This is actually an open source project. If you would like to take a look at it, it's at the ZipRecruiter website, and it's called Chrome Driver Proxy. And on GitHub, I am called Jesg, Jesg. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. All right, up next we have Sean Knight talking about Locators 2.0. I had the pleasure of listening to this back in 2015 when it was V1. Let's see what V2 is all about.
Cool. So very quickly, we're going to tell you the backstory. Backstory to this is in 2015, like Andrew said, I did a lightning talk over locators, and where back then it was just the hotness of the JS was Angular. Angular 2 just came out, and my team, actually myself and the front end guy, we decided that we were going to bring in and start using data attributes as locators. Let me get that right. Here we go. And so here we did things like this, where we just named things correctly, you know, just adding these attributes as our locators. Completely eliminated the JS or the XPath, the CSS, drilling up and down and all around. We just eliminated all that. We put these things exactly where we want them. There's no playing around. There's no spending hours of trying to figure out the locator. We just put it there. And so that was then. And that's kind of where we've been going for the last 4 years. Today, we now have React. We have Angular, whatever version it is. I don't even know. And we have Vue. And basically, it's component-based frameworks, right? So what I've come up with and what I started doing this past year was that I started adding metadata into those hooks. And so now I have things like this, where I have changed it, where I've called this out in a very detailed way that this is a button. But inside that button, I can also take the React code that's being generated to generate this locator, and I can take things and put things in there. And now what I call metadata. And now I can say, hey, this thing, I'm waiting for this thing to become disabled as it becomes false. Now there's no special weird waits that I have to add. I'm simply waiting for this. And that's what I want. Because in that situation, that button's being flashed and it's being disabled and being brought back. And if you try to figure that out, you're going to add a weird hard weight, or you're going to have other weights that are just not going to work because you don't know how fast it's going to work. You know it's going to come back. But this is where I started coming in when I said, hey, I'm going to add metadata for this. Eliminates everything. It really made a lot of the weights go away, made the locators much easier, again, to find. Nothing's really new there. This is some special code, but you get around some of the special code. In my React code, in this situation, on the bottom example, we have a button, and we have a mobile button, we have a desktop button. And I didn't want to create two in my automation code, and then you're adding this weird piece in your automation. But I do know that when the React code comes in, I can get it a mobile or a desktop. It can tell me that based off the screen size, or it's going to come in from the React code. So I do that. I grab that from, yeah. Make sure that's correct. That may not be a very good example after all, but are we done? Good. Okay. So really, this is really the second part of this. Like I said, we started to add metadata into our hooks. Now I know that Jason showed us something awesome yesterday, but until you're there, you can go here. And you're not sitting, like I said, you're not drilling through your code, through the DOM. There's none of that. I've heard all the excuses of why we can't do this. I don't care how you do it, but you do it this way. I've heard all excuses. There are none that stick. And if you want to come talk to me about all the excuses why the front-end guys don't want to do it, I can give you all the answers. And let me leave you with this. Where's it at? It's not going to do it. Oh, there it is. And a little bit about me, if you want to come talk to me about this after or take it online, feel free. And I do consider myself an expert only in this case. Do I consider myself an expert? Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. One last one, and then it'll be time for a track change. Up next, we have Brian Grogan talking about network traffic inspection with no proxy. Let's welcome him to the stage.
Hold on, guys, just trying to get set up here. Yeah, I've got it plugged in. There we go. Okay. All right, I'm just going to give you a quick overview of a technique that I've been using to inspect network traffic without using a proxy. My name's Brian. I'm an automation engineer at Moat Inc., which is an ad tech company in New York. And we work with tracking visibility of advertisements. And part of the way that works is it sends a lot of background network requests from a web page. And we need a way to verify that those requests are correct. So we end up having to look at a lot of network traffic, and typically that involves a proxy. So why would we want to look for an alternative? If you're using this alternative technique, potentially it gives you faster setup and teardown. It avoids adding another dependency to your project. And it's also helpful if you work with a remote browser service like Sauce Labs that may not necessarily give you access to run something like a proxy. So like I said, the typical solution is something like Browser Mob Proxy that hooks into Selenium. So typically you start up Browser Mob Proxy in its own process. And then this is a quick example of what the code looks like to connect to that proxy and get everything running with Selenium to load up a page and then analyze the traffic in the har file. And that's an example of what all the traffic looks like. An alternative that I've found is using something called the resource timing API that you access through JavaScript. And this is a quick example of what it looks like when you bring up DevTools and you look at the network tab. These are all the network requests for resources being sent from the page. And this is what it looks like when you run the code for the resource timing API. It's just a quick function you call the window performance object. And then you run a quick filter on these requests. And it gives you the type of request that you're looking for. So this is a comparison of what the code looks like now to do this technique. It just makes a quick call to execute script to run that JavaScript, and it returns the results. And this is what the final result looks like. So you get back the same URL that we were digging for before with browser mount proxy, but it runs quickly through JavaScript, and it avoids that extra dependency. And that's all I've got. Thanks, guys.
All right, let's thank all of the Lightning Talk speakers. It is very hard to come up here and actually get up here and talk for 3 minutes. So let's give them again one big round of applause, and we'll get started in just a couple minutes. Tomer Steinfield.